Can you imagine experiencing your life as easy and peaceful most of the time, even when things around you seem to be in chaos? It truly is a possibility. That is the gift of living with soul and ego in harmony, living in self-awareness without judgment. Get ready to listen, share, and experience the magic that is energy medicine. Now, here is the host of Soul Healing with Traci Trimble, Doctor of Energy Medicine, Traci Trimble.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Traci, and I'm here to talk to you today about energy medicine. I'm really excited to be here today on Inspired Choices Network, sharing with you my wisdom, my knowledge, and my experience. As mentioned, I'm a doctor of energy medicine, and I specialize in the cause and effects of depression, acute stress, and chronic pain. But I do so from the perspective of our bioenergetic field. So that means that I work with energy physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, and I'm so excited to share the power of what that means with each of you. I believe that our body, our ego, and our soul is one energetic unit working in harmony. And we're always finding ways to communicate together. It's physical, our body speaks to us, it's emotional, we have feelings, we have thoughts, we have ideas, but it's also mental. Sometimes there's chaos in all of that. There is thoughts and words that get mixed up with what's happening around us, in the world around us, with our friends, with our families. But it's also about spiritual. It's about connecting to whatever it is out there that guides us, that teaches us, that has the capacity to show us that we're capable of healing ourselves. So what is energy medicine? What is energetic healing? Well, I think that's different for absolutely everybody. For me, it's having the capacity to be aware of what's going on inside of me and how I'm reacting to the outside world. It's about having the ability to realize when I'm in judgment and when I am overwhelmed, when I'm frustrated versus when I'm happy or excited. So what I'd like to do is offer to you some of the really cool things that I've experienced with energy medicine. So as I mentioned twice now, I'm sure, I am a doctor of energy medicine. And my gift, what I love to call my superpower, is that I have the capacity to read soul energy. And I call it reading because I'm not entirely sure if I hear it, if I know it, if I see it, or I feel it, but I have the capacity to connect to you. I have the capacity to see what it is that you aren't seeing in the moment. And over the years, I've had the ability to begin to ask questions to your soul. But I've also extensively trained myself to work with you on an ego level. So as we talk, face-to-face, over the phone, or through distance energy work, I have the capacity to bring soul and ego into harmony. And it's a strange way that this all happened for me. I honestly was caught up in my own self. I was all ego all the time, and I didn't actually know that what I was feeling belonged to other people. I thought everything I felt, good, bad, beautiful, and ugly, belonged to me. And at the beginning, I was a little terrified of what was going on. I knew something was wrong, but I wasn't sure what it was. And of course, I went to my medical health practitioner and said something was wrong with me. And I was diagnosed with clinical depression and was told that I'd need to be on medication for the rest of my life. And although I didn't know what that meant, I had this knowing that that wasn't the answer for me. It all started out with yoga. finding a way for my body to move through some of the pain that I was going through, to begin to realize that that pain wasn't mine. And then I was introduced to meditation. Meditation gave me the capacity to realize that some of the voices that I heard or felt or read were actually not mine or not for me. And so over the last 12 years, I have created a world around me that is focused on finding out what the universe gifts to us, how it gifts to us. So it all started with me for Reiki. The foundation of everything that I do with you and for you is through universal life force energy flowing through us, gifting to and for us information about where we are at in this lifetime. Energy medicine is different, like I said, for absolutely everyone. It's going to depend on what you're looking for. For me, it's a connection directly to Source, and that's God. And I believe that we came to this space and time with a contract to fulfill, not a way that it has to be fulfilled, but a contract to fulfill. And that's what I've tried to do over the last 12 years or so, is to be on purpose, to learn, to share, to heal, to grow, and to prosper. So let's talk about soul and ego coming into harmony. I want to share with you something that I've discovered that I believe to be true, and that's that in every moment the universe has our back. The universe is attempting to communicate with us, but we weren't all gifted the capacity to hear, to know, to see, or to feel ego and soul in harmony. So let's start with, what does it mean for the universe to connect to us? Well, I think first and foremost, it means that we are connected to something greater than ourselves, and sometimes we have to get out of our own way when we're doing that. I think the most natural way for us is through our intuition. I know that every single one of us has had a moment, at least, where intuition has guided us. Whether we chose to follow it is something completely different. But when we do follow it, we seem to be in a flow, a natural state of moving to exactly what we need next. But when we don't follow our intuition, it tends to create for us suffering and pain. And I would like to suggest that that pain and suffering is actually information. Source has tried to communicate with us in many different forms. I think they're mental, they're emotional, and they're physical. But if we aren't paying attention, that Source needs to get a little aggressive, and that comes to us in the form of physical pain or dysfunction, maybe even disease. So if we have the ability to understand that our intention begins with a thought, that thought saying, whoa, hold on a second, don't do what you were about to do, and we do it anyway, I believe that we move into a communication tool called mental. Most of us would know mental as our mind, and we might even think that that's just our ego. But I would like to believe that in our mind, soul and ego have the capacity to reside in harmony. It's when we hear those two little voices. We may not recognize them at first as completely separate voices, but we can usually suss out that they aren't on the same page. One energy tells us to move forward, and the other energy tells us to stop going. And depending on whether what we're doing is in our highest good or not, is the information that we're looking for. Sometimes fear isn't always ego. Sometimes fear is a feeling of excitement, and that's exactly what we need to push us forward. But other times, fear is ego. and it stops us in our tracks. It allows us to get stuck where we're at because moving forward is too scary, but moving back seems like failure. When soul and ego go into that space of chaos and we still don't listen, we continue to proceed where our intuition asked us not to go, we move into the energy communication of emotions. And it's through our emotions that we are most guided. Many of you, I'm sure, are aware of what's called our chakras. Our chakras are energy centers in the body that move both information as well as energy. When we're stuck or blocked, it's much like fear and we don't move forward. But when we're flowing, it's much like excitement and that pushes us forward. The chakras help gauge, guide, and manage our emotions. And our emotions are an incredibly powerful language that I believe is essential that each of us learns. Not only to learn emotional language, but to learn it without judging or criticizing ourselves and others. So our intuition has said, please don't do it, don't go forward. And our mental capacity has duked it out and the chaos has ensued and we continue to move forward anyway. Our emotions begin usually at crown chakra, and it's with disconnection, isolation, and loneliness. It's very often that as human beings, we don't tend to feel those emotions or we don't interpret them, or even worse, we've stuffed them down so far that we don't recognize them when they're happening. Disconnection, isolation, and loneliness causes us to make decisions to isolate. Next, we move down into the third eye, where we have the capacity when we're out of alignment to create stories and illusions. Thoughts and words that we think are protecting us, that we create with habits and beliefs, but actually they're causing us more harm. And then next we move to throat chakra. And throat chakra is where everything seems to shift from etherical into actual physical. And this is where our thoughts and our words, our actions and our inactions become what I like to call lies. They're lies because they're not serving our highest good. They're usually serving the good of others, not necessarily our own. It's these three chakras, the etherical chakras, that we don't tend to recognize the emotional information. In just a few moments, when we return from our break, I'll share with you the information and the emotions that heart, solar, sacral, and root chakra share with us. So it's time for our first break of the show. When we return, we're going to continue learning about the language of emotions. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Traci, and you're listening to Soul Healing with Traci Trimble. Today, our show topic is energetic healing. Before the break, we were discussing how our emotions communicate with us to share with us what we need to move forward, what we need to heal, to grow, to learn, to share, to recognize. We left off at throat chakra. Once again, throat chakra is in alignment when we're speaking our truth, when our thoughts, our words, our chosen action and chosen inaction is guiding us towards our highest good. Out of alignment is when our thoughts, our words, our chosen actions, and our chosen inactions are causing us harm and suffering in any variable of a way, a small annoyance to an absolute, complete, devastating disease. If we don't have the capacity to be aware of our thoughts and words, then we're very often challenged with drawing to us people, places, things, scenes, situations, and scenarios that aren't taking us to our highest good and therefore taking us farther out of alignment. If we still don't have the capacity to recognize at throat chakra, our emotional language continues and moves down to our solar chakra. Solar chakra information or energy is all about self-esteem and willpower. In alignment, we are strong and courageous. We have the capacity to take risks, to put ourselves first. But out of alignment, our solar chakra has the capacity to attract us to shame, anger, and lack of worthiness. I want to stay at solar chakra just a little bit longer than I have the other chakras, simply because one of the greatest gifts that we often mistake as a big challenge in our life is in fact anger. And it's very often the first feeling that we get when we're out of alignment. So let's talk about anger for just a couple minutes. I want to share with you my own personal story around anger, and that it was my go-to for many years. And I'd be lying to you right now if I told you that anger was a stranger to me. It certainly is not. But I also find anger an extremely important gift for me to continue to be exactly who I say I am and who I want to be. Anger is my warning sign that I'm about to go out of alignment, that I'm feeling disconnected and isolated, that I've created some story to protect myself, and that I'm now about to lie about it in my words, my thoughts, my action, or inaction. In the past, and in many of my clients' experience, anger is bad. It's not a good thing, and we want to stuff it down. I want to explain to you what anger actually is. Anger is the fire in the pit of our belly. It's what the Japanese call our hara, and I believe it's where our life force energy is fueled. That fire in our belly has the capacity, yes, to burn stuff down. But it also is exactly what fuels our creativity and passion. So I urge you to become aware of your anger. Maybe not at first of what the anger is, but that it exists and that it's extremely important to who we are, to be able to recognize that anger doesn't always mean reacting and burning stuff down. But sometimes it does. In the days of old, in farming and agriculture, the farmers burnt their fields down, gifting the soil with much needed nutrients. Sometimes we do need to burn things down, but when that is a response, not when it's a reaction. Most of the time, we have capacity to recognize anger, realize that we're going out of alignment with who we want to be, and then we have the capacity to shift. And that's exactly what energy medicine is all about, cultivating the capacity to energetically shift from out of alignment into alignment. And what that simply means is learning how to channel that anger into a creative, passionate pursuit. What if anger is the warning sign that you're about to go out of alignment? Recognize it. Stop, breathe, and ask yourself, where are you about to go out of alignment in your thoughts, your words, your actions, or inactions? And I realize that going in and out of alignment is not necessarily something that each of you understands right now, and that's my job. It's my job to teach you how to understand who you are, who you want to be, and how you're going to bring yourself into alignment. Again, alignment is simply always moving forward towards your own highest good, closer to love and farther from fear. Okay, so let's get back to the solar chakra. It's shame, anger, and lack of worthiness. We have the capacity to stuff anger down, and from that draw to us people, places, things, scenes, situations, and scenarios that say to us, you aren't worthy. And I want to tell you right now that that just is not true. Those are old habits and old belief systems sharing old stories. We have the capacity as human beings to become aware without judgment, and to shift into our highest good. So getting me back on track, we're talking about the language of emotions and how the chakras tie together to explain to us what our emotions mean. So let's move down from solar chakra to sacral chakra. Here, our feelings are usually around guilt and blame. I'm going to suggest, and of course it's simply my own opinion, but I want to suggest that each of us was born with the disease of human being called lack of worthiness. We somehow just don't instantly believe that we're good enough. And sometimes that disease goes a little too far into what I call guilt and blame. Guilt and blame is the disease of having to please others at our own expense. It's funny, we very often realize that this is our disease, but we don't really know what to do with it. And that's where energy medicine comes in. That's where understanding how to feel, how to be in, and how to know what our feelings are trying to tell us is how we begin to heal ourselves. At root chakra, this is where fear accumulates. It's the space in which we don't feel safe, secure, or supported when we're out of alignment. And what that simply means is that the disconnection, the isolation, and the loneliness, the stories and the illusions, the thoughts and words that are simply not true, the heart energy of feeling as though we are lost and sad and alone. Those feelings of shame, anger, and lack of worthiness, and then moving into guilt and blame, all accumulate and become fear. It's those fears that then begin to create the foundation that we're standing on. And I don't know about you, but I want a really solid foundation. I want a solid foundation built on love and peacefulness, on passion and purposefulness. And it's really hard for that foundation to be created when we're stuck in fear. This is how energy communicates with us. If, once again, our intuition has said, whoa, don't go that way, and soul and ego have fought it out and we're still in chaos through our mental capacity, and now we've moved through all of the emotions and we still don't know what to do, or worse, we're completely unaware that spiritually, mentally, and emotionally we've been guided, then our energy turns physical. Whatever's challenging us is no longer energetic. It's no longer simply blocks within our bioenergetic field. It now becomes physical. And it starts with an annoyance, an itchy, scratchy, throbby, tingly, burny sensation that just doesn't want to go away. And wherever it is that you feel that sensation in your body, it's going to relate to a chakra. And that chakra is going to be able to tell us a message from your body that says, oh, this itchy, scratchy, throbby, burny thing is becoming physical. We didn't recognize it when it was spiritual, mental, or emotional, so the universe is going to gift us. And I know that sounds terrible, that our pain and suffering is a gift, but it truly is. Because as we become more aware, and more aware without judgment, those physical sensations are going to stop us in our track. We're going to breathe. We're going to step back, and we're going to start to ask questions. Next, if we ignore those annoyances, it's going to turn to pain. It's going to be a consistent pain, and you're not going to really know what happened. Oh, I tweaked my arm. Oh, my fingers hurt. Oh, my ankle's always sensitive. It's turned to pain because we weren't listening to the annoyance, and the universe is getting more aggressive than it was before. And finally, if after over a long period of time we ignore our physical pain, it becomes disease and dysfunction. The reason I wanted to share all of this with you is because if you understand that the universe is communicating through energy to you, we have the medicine, the awareness inside of us to heal our disease, our dysfunction, our pain, our annoyances. We have the capacity to know body, mind, and spirit as one. It's time that we head to our second break of the show. When we return, I'd like to share with you some of my experiences as a doctor of energy medicine, what I do to help educate people to empower themselves to become more self-aware. You're listening to Soul Healing with Traci Trimble, and when we return, I look forward to sharing with you some of my experiences. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Traci, and you're listening to Soul Healing with Traci Trimble. Before we get back to the show, I just want to share with you a few things that are going on with me right now. In December, I was very fortunate to move to a physical permanent location in a small town just outside of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, called Myrtle Station. And when I say small town, there's probably about 200 people in that population. It's part of Whitby, Ontario. It's also part of Ashburn, Ontario, but it also gets to be a really little hamlet called Myrtle Station. And here in Myrtle Station, I've been gifted with the most beautiful physical environment to work from. I am very fortunate to have a meditation space and a workshop space. And the reason I'm sharing this with you right now is because today I speak to you live from my home, probably a half hour away from my workspace, and I'm realizing that I am really, really missing being at my workplace while I'm talking to you guys, because I find inspiration for what I'm going to talk about in that space. And so on the break, I decided to close my eyes and to breathe deeply and to connect myself to my workspace, to my studio called True Path Consulting. And as I opened my eyes, what I realized is this is so cool. I am actually practicing energy medicine in this moment that I'm talking to you. And I want to share what that means for me. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, I am a doctor of energy medicine. I have a PhD in energy psychology, where I specialize specifically in depression, anxiety, acute stress, and chronic pain. And I'm in the process of completing a second PhD in metaphysical counseling. And the reason that I'm doing that second PhD is because that is what I've always done. For the last 12 years, that's been my passion. I just really hadn't had a name for it, metaphysical counseling. So what does that look like? Someone comes to me, and what I like to do is offer a complimentary 45-minute session. And that session is speaking to you specifically one-on-one, ego to ego, but also asking your permission to connect at soul level. And in that 45-minute session, I pull out from your soul and ego conversation with me exactly what the habits and beliefs are that are pulling you out of alignment. And I share those with you. And I offer you 3 choices: to take this information and do something with it, to find someone around you who can guide and support you. So usually, and selfishly, I'm going to ask you to do that with a Reiki practitioner, just because that foundation of energy is so empowering. But someone that will help you interpret where you are at and where you're going. And then the third option, of course, is I always offer my services. My services, and this is not a sales pitch, so bear with me for a second. My services are called bioenergetic trauma release. And what that means is I have the capacity to see through the layers of the human bioenergetic field. And what I see in the layers are emotional blockages, energetic, emotional beliefs and habits that act as detours, that literally act as magnets as well, that attract us to people, places, things, scenes, situations, scenarios that are going to draw us to our strongest beliefs and habits. That does not necessarily mean that we're being drawn to our highest good, and that's why those blocks become detours, because they route us away from what is possibly empowerment and draw us towards what is possibly fear. So when I work with my clients, there is no magic formula. People say to me all the time, "What do you do?" And it's not a very good marketing line, but it depends on what you need. I read your soul energy, and we begin to work together to bring you into alignment. And I personally believe that in alignment means that you are following your highest good, that you are connecting yourself to an easy, peaceful way of living, that you are connected to your body as much as you're connected to your mind and as much as you're connected to your spirit. I believe that each of those 3 energetic spaces are one, and that one space is called human being. And specifically, that's you. It's who you are, body, mind, and soul in harmony. And when we're in that state, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, then guess what? We're living our highest good. We are in alignment to what we're here for. And as I mentioned also closer to the beginning of the show, is that I believe we're all here for a reason. I think that we signed a contract with Source that said, I'm going to go there and I'm going to collect this information and I'm going to live this life in whichever way I choose, and then I'm going to bring that information back. So when people talk about, I have no purpose, I don't know my purpose, there's something wrong with me, I'm broken, I want to stop you right there. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. It's not that you don't know what your purpose is, it's that you've forgotten what you're here for. And you are here to experience this space and time in whichever way you choose. Source has gifted us free will and autonomy. That doesn't mean that we're alone. It means that we get to choose what we're going to do, who we're going to be, how we're going to be that person. And I believe in my particular experience, that's what energetic healing is. Energetic healing isn't saying there's something wrong with you. Energetic healing is saying we're not on track. And the way to get on track is to connect physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually with who we really want to be. To be who we say we're going to be, and then have tools in our toolbox of life to be that particular person. So if you're concerned that you have something wrong, that you're broken, or that you have no purpose, please believe me that that's just a habit, that it's just a belief, that each of us in our own right is here to experience this life in any way that we choose, as long as that choice is gifting us fulfillment. If you don't feel fulfilled, you feel pain and suffering, then I'm asking you to consider energy medicine. You're very welcome at any time to call into the show, to ask questions, or to connect with me directly. You also have the option of emailing questions if you're not interested in sharing them on the show. I will keep them completely confidential, and I will, if not today, get to those questions so that you feel as though you are given what you need. My email address is traci@tracitrimble.ca. That's TRACI Traci@tracitrimble.ca. But if you're interested in calling in, I'd love to hear from you, and I'm very happy to connect with your permission to soul, and to not only answer your questions from ego's point of view, from what you want to hear in your mind, but also from soul's point of view, which perhaps you may or may not be listening to. So let's continue talking about soul and ego in harmony. What does that mean? Well, I think that when we decided to come to this space and time as human being, we came as a singular entity. Soul, which I believe is a piece of source itself, and ego, which I believe is the warrior energy sent with us to protect us in this space and time. I think through the conception to birth process, there was a little bit of confusion, and we forgot what our mission was in this space and time. And because of that, soul and ego went into a little chaos between themselves. Soul wants entirely to experience the contract, but ego realizes that there's a world around us of other people, places, things, scenes, situations, and scenarios that we could get tied up in. And yes, that is very exciting. But I think the important thing for us to realize is that balance is real, and that balance comes from within. It's pursuing our mission here on earth from the space of soul energy, but also pursuing ego's excitement with the outside world. There's a big difference between pursuing and getting caught up in, and I think what happens is that when we have the capacity to get caught up in other people's stuff, we forget to mind our own business. We forget to look at what it is that we need to share, to be, to do, and to have, and we try to be, do, or have what everyone else wants us to be, do, and have. So for me, energy medicine comes in the form of whatever you need it to be, whatever tools that you need to understand so that you can remember who you are, why you came to this space and time, and that each and every single one of us is magic. That doesn't mean our magic has to be gigantic and explosive. It doesn't mean that our fear of magic has to be little and gentle either. Whatever it is that you have the capacity to be, do, and have is within you. And I'm asking you to give yourself permission to find that, to begin to cultivate self-awareness without judgment, to discover how ego is best served using the world around us as our playground, but also how soul is best served, being connected to something greater than just ourselves, something greater than just being human. Imagine if it was true. Imagine if we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Imagine if it was true that our habits and beliefs are simply that, habits and beliefs. They don't have to control the way in which we move through this space and time called human being. It's time for our third break of the show. When we return, we're going to discuss a little bit about what soul healing has the capacity to be for you. You're listening to Soul Healing with Traci Trimble on the Inspired Choices Network. When we return, we'll reconnect to exactly who it is we all want to be. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Traci, and you're listening to Soul Healing with Traci Trimble on. And today our show topic is energetic healing. Before we went to break, I wanted to talk to you about sick and tired being a message. So let's get right into that. Sick and tired, how many times have you used those phrases? We say things like, I'm sick and tired, or I feel sick and tired, or how about this, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Here's the challenge, is that the more we say I am, the more we become those things. Yes, I completely believe that sick and tired is a thing. But I think that thing is a warning system. It's a message. It's telling us that we are just not taking care of ourselves. And usually what that means for many of us is that we're taking care of everybody else, and there's just not enough left for ourselves. Every weekday morning from 10 to 11:30, I lead a live group called Soul Healing Circle. It's education for an hour where the circle sits around and answers one question. And that question is, where are you at today? And what I'm asking them is, where are they at physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? Not everyone in circle has to answer, and not everyone does every day. But the point of doing it is bringing awareness to where we are at in those four most powerful energetic areas in our lives. Because the answer to each of those questions, where are you at physically? Where are you at emotionally? Where are you at mentally? And where are you at spiritually? Gifts to us. Messages from the universe that say this is what we have to work on. This is where our self-awareness and our self-care comes from. What if, and I'm going to say it nice and slow and one more time, what if depression, anxiety, acute stress, and chronic pain was just an overload of warnings that we've gone too far out of alignment, that we've forgotten to take care of ourselves? So back to circle. In circle, I very often share specific information about essence energy and about abundance energy. And I believe that when we are taking care of ourselves, when we are moving closer to love or towards our alignment with our highest good, that we are filling ourselves up with essence energy. Essence energy is that warm, tingling sensation that moves through you when your excitement is percolating. I believe that it washes away all of the non-beneficial energy that sits in our chakras, and it fills us with so much love and light that we actually have the capacity to feel, to know, to hear exactly where we're supposed to be. We're guided. We begin to trust our intuition. We begin to use our mental capacity to avoid chaos and to be in harmony. We begin listening to our emotions, and we feel what our body's trying to tell us. That is our essence energy. And for many, we often think that superficial pursuits are self-care. And do not kid yourself, I crazy love a massage. Crazy love a massage. But that's not enough. We can't just take care of our bodies and call it self-care. We also have to take care of ego and soul. So what if we found tools through awareness to fill ourselves full of essence energy? That would mean that there would be an abundance of energy flowing around us. And I want to suggest to you that you give all of that abundance energy to whoever you want. But please, please stop giving your essence energy away. Please make sure you're full of everything that you need. Make sure that you are full of awareness of what your body needs, of what your emotions are trying to tell you, of what your soul and ego in chaos or in harmony are working towards. And most importantly, begin to trust your intuition. My name is Traci Trimble. I am a doctor of energy medicine, and I am so excited to be here to guide, teach, heal, and protect you. But most importantly, to teach you to do those things to and for yourself. I'm looking forward to seeing, I guess I won't see you. I'm looking forward to hearing from you next week, to sharing with you information on body, mind, and soul coming into alignment. I hope that you have an amazing week ahead of you, and I look forward to communicating with you in ways that are most beneficial to you. So please remember, you can email me, you can call into the show, or you have the capacity to ask me for a 45-minute complimentary consultation. Please know that I am so grateful to be here, that this was an amazing experience, and I look forward to sharing with you information on bringing soul and ego into harmony, learning who you are and who you want to be, teaching you ways to ground, connect, and protect yourself. There's so many things that we're going to be able to do together here at Soul Healing. So I thank you once again so much for your time and your energy. Again, my name is Traci Trimble. I am a doctor of energy medicine, and my purpose is treating the causes and effects of depression, acute stress, and chronic pain from the perspective of the bioenergetic field. My superpower is connecting to your soul energy, and my teachings, education, and skills give me the capacity to also communicate clearly with ego, so that my job is teaching you to bring soul and ego into harmony. I'm excited once again to have had this time with you, to share information on your intuition, on your mental capacity, your emotion, as well as your physical well-being. I call these the 4 levels of awareness. And next week, we're going to be delving deep into these 4 levels of awareness. So get your questions ready, and I look forward to hearing from you, teaching and learning from you. Once again, thank you so very much. Have a great day.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Soul Healing with Traci Trimble, PhD. We hope you'll join us. Until then, give yourself permission to learn, share, heal, and grow through self-awareness without judgment.